Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I came across this article that was written literally 3 days ago by a lady called Aubrey Hanson on the ccn.com blog/website, and I found it quite funny, quite interesting. And it's her take on Prince Harry's new rant about being a feminist and Meghan announcing that he's a feminist. Now, what she frames this as is their attempt to rebrand themselves in the USA. So she starts out with saying, Prince Harry wants you to know he's a feminist, and it's cringeworthy, and it is. It's unnecessary information. It adds no real validity to their branding. I don't know what all of this is about. All it really highlights is that he is Meghan's servant. He lives to serve Meghan and to further her agenda of trying to be a major somebody, whether it be in the political world or otherwise, in Hollywood. So she goes on to say, Prince Harry is now telling anyone who will listen that he's a feminist. It's all a part of his rebranding alongside wife Meghan Markle. And that really does summarise what it means. Why the desperation to prove you're a feminist, Prince Harry? ? Prince Harry, just like his wife, is attempting to cultivate a new personal brand, and I definitely think he is. I think that this is the wrong way to go about it because it doesn't really make any sense. 1 minute they are talking about combating Black Lives Matter, then he's banging on about the Paralympics, and then he's talking to one of his patronages, England rugby team, saying that he's desperate to come back to the UK, and he's all over the place. There's no clear, concise point that he's really trying to stick to. When you rebrand yourself, you are meant to stick to one narrative and one sore point you are trying to combat. You can't be everywhere and everything to everybody. So she carries on to say, it's not enough for Harry to be a feminist, everyone has to know. Of course, his feminism comes and goes depending on how he's feeling. As we all know, Meghan Markle has been going all out to create her new brand since moving to California from her brief cup of coffee in Canada, where she and Prince Harry spent time on Vancouver Island. And it was very brief, wasn't it? It was literally about 3 months. It isn't just Meghan who's trying to rebrand though. Prince Harry is changing things up as well and seems to be following in his wife's footsteps. Prince Harry is a feminist, don't you know? It's not enough to be a feminist. Prince Harry has to make sure everyone knows it. It may just be me, but when someone goes out of their way to proclaim themselves to be something, I wonder if they're doing it for show or if it's something in which they genuinely believe. This is a question I'm asking about Prince Harry of late. During a backyard chat with activist Gloria Steinem, which so obviously wasn't staged for the cameras and publicity, and we know it was staged, Meghan Markle went to great lengths to praise her husband for embracing his feminist side. To me, it sounded like a proud parent praising their child for learning to tie their shoes. And it did sound like that, didn't it? It sounded like, oh, good little boy. You're doing everything that mummy has brought you up to do. She's the parent and he's the child, or she is the master and he is the pet. She carries on to say, I was waiting on Prince Harry to be given a lollipop and a glass of pop as a reward. It seems that it isn't quite enough for Prince Harry to be a feminist. He has to make sure that everyone knows it, including Gloria Steinem, when he proclaimed how proud he was about it as well. Sorry, Harry, but I expect most decent men and women to be feminists. I really don't mean to rain on Harry's parade, and this is obviously her continuing, but being a feminist is simply advocating for women's rights on the ground of equality of the sexes. I have friends, some of whom are men, and guess what? They're all in favour of equal rights for women. The kicker is they don't go around proclaiming themselves to be feminists as though it's a badge of honour. And that's the key. They are saying that Harry is a feminist like it's a nouvelle concept, like he's the first male feminist. He's not the first man who is in favour of equality between men and women. So Aubrey carries on to say, it's 2020. I expect most reasonable and intelligent people to be in favour of equality. It really should go without saying. Why did Prince Harry make such a fuss about being a feminist? Which brings me to my next point. It clearly matters to Prince Harry that people know he's a feminist. Perhaps people knowing is more important than actually supporting women's rights to equality. Well, I definitely do believe that Harry is interested in women having equality, because by the looks of things in his marriage, it's a very unbalanced marriage, and Meghan seems to have a lot more power and say so than he does himself. She wears the pants in that relationship. She dictates where they live, how they live, what they do for a living, even down to his speeches. He had one speech where it clearly sounded as though it was scripted by Megsy herself. So Aubrey carries on to say, so why is it so important to him? This brings me back to my first point. It's all about branding. Meghan Markle has drawn her line in the sand of late, becoming involved in political matters and extolling the importance of voting. Of course, her husband has never actually voted in his life, but he is a feminist, don't you know? Just ask Gloria Steinem. He told her. Being a feminist may be enough for most people, but you can't use it to define yourself and your brand unless everyone knows it. As is usually the case with Prince Harry and Meghan, it's a case of doing what I say, not as I do. And that is true. They tell us to be eco-friendly. They tell us to be mindful of our carbon footprint. Yet the first chance they get, they are jumping in a gas fuel guzzling Cadillac and swanning around LA in it. They buy a non-eco-friendly super mansion in the middle of Santa Barbara in the Hollywood Hills, where no one is really living a very eco-friendly lifestyle, but yet they lecture us on how we are living, how we are traveling, how we are flying. Yet they never fly commercial. They always fly private. It's crazy. It's insane. Let us all remember, and this is Aubrey Hanson carrying on, that Prince Harry is a feminist when it suits him. If he has to scold and speak down to Angela Kelly, a member of royal staff who he referred to as this woman when he was demanding that she make it work for his future wife, who was throwing a strop because she couldn't get immediate access to the Queen's jewels, he will. I wonder if you can still be a feminist even if you're a spoiled brat who's prone to tantrums with a misogynistic overtone. And she ended the article there, and I definitely do agree with her. Prince Harry has a double standard duality about him that is very easy to spot and very easy to see. I definitely think that Aubrey has used the correct words. It's do as I say, but not as I do. Live according to the things that I would like you to believe about myself, but don't judge me on the things that I'm actually doing in my everyday real life, which is hypocritical to say the least and very contradictory. I find Prince Harry to be quite nauseating along with his wife. They are desperately scrapping at concepts and ideas for their new brand and how they're going to make money. And it all seems pretty fake. It all seems pretty much forced, if you ask me, for my personal opinion. And it's very lackluster, to say the least. As for their branding, do I think it's going to work? Do I think that he scored brownie points? No, I do not. I don't think Harry has much to gain in saying that he is a feminist, because after all, we really are not bothered, are we? And we really do not care about whether Harry's a feminist or not. What the British taxpayer really does care about is whether Harry pays back the taxes that he has blown on Frogmore Cottage, as I've said in numerous videos, and pays back for the taxes that he has blown on that very elaborate union with that lady who had no intentions of being in the royal family anyway. She had no intentions of being in the royal fold. Absolutely none whatsoever. God knows what he will be talking about next. I think that they seem to have dropped the whole Black Lives Matter for their branding, because they haven't really done much regarding the Black Lives movement, which is extremely expensive out there in the USA. It seems as though they're doing only what suits them when they can be bothered to do it, and if it makes them feel good, while desperately trying to combat the negative PR that pretty much exposes the two of them for what they really are deep down. I'm going to leave the video there, guys, and I hope you really enjoyed this one, and I will keep up the reporting as much as I can, and I'll be back with another video. Bye, guys.